All right, I think it's going to be a big day at City Hall. Rumors flying that the president of the OCPM, the Public Consultation Office, will get the boot. Let's find out what's happening at City Hall. Let's go to councillor for Snowdon and Côte-des-Neiges, NDG. Sonny Moroz is on the line. Sonny, welcome back to the show.
Hey, Elias, how are you?
I'm good. We have a lot to get to here. First things first, are the rumors true? I know it seems like the mayor says she's lost confidence in the president of the OCPM, Isabelle Beaulieu. Aref Salem, leader of your party, has said no dice there either. Is this it? What will happen today?
Well, frankly, I can't see her staying past today, given the discussions I've heard. Frankly, we also, when there's a loss of confidence, you have to make sure that it gets reestablished. That's what we do as city councilors and as officials. We want to make sure that things are brought back to order. We also we don't want to be judge and jury, so we're hoping that there's an independent commission that can look at this, and we haven't got to that point on the city council agenda yet, but there's plenty of other stuff to talk about. If you'd like to ask some more questions, go at it.
No, and I just, but this is happening today. At one point today, this discussion will become reality for the Isabelle Beaulieu.
I would assume so. Yeah. I can't judge or know exactly how the vote will go, but from the discussions I've heard, I can't see it.
Okay, let's talk about more people that perhaps should have some accountability here. Let's talk about the commissioner against racism, the anti-racism commissioner for the city of Montreal, Bashra Manai. You took to city council and you had some passionate words. You're not happy with her performance since October 7th. When Israel was attacked by Hamas terrorists. Why are you speaking up here? What do you think should happen with Bashra Manai?
Frankly, she's a commissioner. She's not an elected official like city councilors or mayors who do take political positions, and sometimes those lines get blurred because of your personal opinions. And I'm not saying that anyone can't have personal opinions and to represent them strongly by going to demonstrations and supporting what's happening, but unfortunately, you need to stay neutral as a commissioner. You need to be able to have anybody and everybody come to you with their problems, and there's just simply no possibility of her continuing her position, given that a Jewish employee of the city wouldn't necessarily feel comfortable going to her with an issue that might impact their identity or their ethnicity or religion, given that she's taken a personal stance. And it's not to say that the stance is controversial in its sense, but controversial meaning that there are strong opinions on both sides, meaning that, you can't choose one side over the other. You can't decide to support one stronger than the other. You really have to take every opportunity as an impartial arbiter of, ethics violations and of racial and discrimination complaints. You need to be above that. And unfortunately, she hasn't taken that road. So, yes, I'm hoping that we can replace it with somebody who has that ability to be impartial.
So, do you think this is something like, how does she get removed from her position? And I'm just wondering, with what you've said, why do you think she is still in her position?
Well, it's still a new position. It's only 3 years. It was the largest public consultation in city history that led to the creation of this position. And when she speaks, she actually speaks on behalf of Serge Lamontagne, who's the head bureaucrat in the city. So, it's not a political position. She's really a bureaucrat, and that process is slightly different. However, as the critic for diversity and inclusion from the opposition, she hasn't produced a report in 2 years about the issues she's dealing with internally. So it's really hard for me not to see a need for someone who has a little bit more import on the issues that they're representing.
So, it's not a simple process. If the mayor were to even want to remove her, it wouldn't be that simple because she's more part of the bureaucracy than an elected official.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and because it's a new position, you'd have to try to untangle a little bit the processes by evaluating her work. And since she hasn't produced a report, I don't really know how to do that. And I do want to just highlight the criticism that Balarama Holness, the former mayoralty candidate at the city of Montreal, he's the one who started this petition. I helped him get thousands of those signatures in Côte-des-Neiges NDG. I'm in support of this, but the main thrust of it was to support the systemic discrimination occurring against the Black community, and specifically the Anglophone Black community of Montreal. And not to say that the Muslim or Arabic communities don't need their own discrimination commissioner, but the thrust of the largest public consultation in the city of Montreal, I accept the criticism that Mr. Holness puts on that decision.
And have you tried to meet with her other members of city council in your party? Have you tried to have a discussion, trying to get to the bottom of where she stands on things?
The communication has been difficult over the last few weeks. The requests haven't been, met. She does go in front of the commission. She does take questions, but the report itself that she's supposed to produce annually hasn't been there. And we're coming up again. I think it's in February, March, and I'm hoping that she can produce something if she's still in her position or whoever replaces her, because it's an important position. I'm not trying to take away from the position whatsoever, only that it requires someone who's impartial, which unfortunately, because of the political position she's taken, I can't see that she can do that.
All right, we're with Sonny Moroz, councillor for Snowdon and Côte-des-Neiges NDG, talking about municipal affairs. Let's talk budget here for a second here. Taxpayers are getting hit hard yet again. Last couple of years have been particularly tough. What do you say to the taxpayer here, and especially on expenses, and if the city should be trying to trim some fat? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, if I could ask the administration, I'd ask them to go back to the drawing board and redo the budget and make some harder decisions about what to cut, because like a 6.5 increase in Côte-des-Neiges for single-family homes is $430 out of families' pockets, and I just don't see that level of service commensurate being offered back to them. I'm concerned. I'm concerned because there just continues to be an overspending above and beyond what is necessary and essential. And, a 5.4 increase for non-residential as well, where close to 70% of all businesses in Côte-des-Neiges NDG are going to see an increase above 5%. I'm concerned by that because I talk to people, I talk to residents, I talk to the businesses, and they're suffering. They're closing their long-standing businesses on our arteries. Those are family businesses with 2 employees, usually a family member who works there as well. They're the ones who don't see themselves reflected in this budget. And the increase for the second year in a row, it isn't taking into account the most vulnerable in our society. We don't have to spend this much at the city level. There is essential spending, and then there is additional spending on pet projects that don't advance the quality of life of residents. Fixed income seniors are being hit hard by this. They do not have the capacity to pay the city more money. So I reflect, a lot of what Jim Bass, the mayor from Cherfall, Dollard, said last week, in that this is not a budget for all Montrealers. This is really trying to communicate to the electoral base while still spending like things are in good times. And when things aren't going well, you have to cut back on projects and on budgets. And when you look at these things, the $90 million for the closure of the overpass above the mountain is still in there. And several large projects in the borough that we both live in are being cut, and delayed. And we're still getting a 5.5 increase. So
can I ask you, because when budgets get released, something that I hear from listeners is, Montreal has too many city councillors. And I just want to know what your thought is. You look at the numbers and you compare us against some other similar cities. It certainly does seem like we have too many elected officials, but you're one of them. What are your thoughts on that? Does Montreal have too many councillors?
I came on the radio to make friends, but I don't think I'm going to make any friends with this answer. Not many people, in terms of elected officials, want to talk about their own responsibilities. But we have 103 elected officials for the city of Montreal, whereas it's 24 in Toronto and 10 respectively in Vancouver. But one thing that we get to study internally is the overall budgets. And the city of Montreal, get this, Elias, it spends $7.1 million on the budgets and allocations for its city councillors and mayors, whereas in Toronto, it's less than half, 3.1, 3.2. So these numbers aren't commensurate with an actual delivery of service or quality of democracy. You can see participation rates higher in areas where they have fewer councillors. So the equation doesn't make sense. We get treated like a big town instead of a metropolis in Quebec. So there are changes that can be made, whether it's cutting councillors or figuring out something that works better for the regular citizen, for them to see themselves better reflected in the municipal politicians. The system has to make more sense. And Listen, it's the first time I get to speak about this publicly, but I've always had those same concerns, and I appreciate when listeners call in to say, what is all of this about? Because from the inside, just like from the outside, it's not very clear.
Well, listen, you weren't kidding. I don't know how many friends that's going to make you at City Hall, right? Because you're talking about people's jobs. Okay, we got to leave it there, Sonny. Really thanks for coming on. We'll keep this conversation going in the future.
You're the best, Elias, and I'll get more information. I'll come back on whenever you have me. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much. That's Sonny Moroz, who's a councillor for Snowdon in Côte-des-Neiges, NDG.